Aye, folks, welcome to this week's Inside Track with the Scottish Sun. We've got York on this week, Jim. The Ebor meeting 7 days ago. We sat and you talked about Item being the one that you really, really fancied. You couldn't
Yeah.
even turn away it went yesterday, could you?
Oh, absolutely delighted, Robert. I have to say, before the race, I felt very, very lonely because it was drifting like a barge. It was out from 13 to 2, out to 10 to 1, and I just got back in time to watch the coverage on ITV, and I started thinking it was maybe a non-runner because I hadn't even had a mention. But thankfully, the race panned out the way it should have done for me anyway. And I just want, I mean, all joking aside about tipping it, I think the ride that Colin Keane gave the horse was absolutely out of this world. He really was superb. I mean, again, all the post race stuff was about William Buick, and I thought, goodness me! I mean, Colin Keane rode a sensational race. The only rider in that race that rode a better race than him and was actually unlucky in the end was Kieran Schumacher on the runner-up because he did everything right as well. But Colin Keane rode a tremendous race. If you're talking about jockeyship, watch the middle part of that race. Watch the way he rode that horse in the middle part of that race. Never mind the finish, but the finish in itself to pull round three horses with a furlong to run in a Group One race and get there. Absolutely terrific ride. So yeah, delighted with that. Absolutely.
Well, he is a man at the top of his game. Just a couple of minutes ago, we've just watched him get Kalpana up.
Yeah.
Although it was looking a wee bit dodgy for a minute. That these races with these pacemakers are very, very difficult when one goes out in front like that. Eh?
Yeah, I mean the pacemaker was always coming back, and it always looked like Kalpana that was going to get to it first. But of course, as you and I know, and I'm sure everybody else watching this now knows that a couple of horses managed to get pretty close. And Sparran Nua, a horse we've mentioned plenty of times on this program, Robert, got very, very close indeed to the point that it was a photo finish. But I think Kalpana was probably a decisive winner, if you can say that, in the end, because Keane got her going again once that other filly started coming close.
Just looking back at the judgment again, Jim, it's been all season we've been talking about team tactics and whatever, and this was a race where Ballydoyle had three in it, and you go, oh, how's the race going to be ridden? Is it a case that maybe they're all getting themselves tied in knots here before the race has even started because they're trying to anticipate what each other's going to be doing?
Yeah, it certainly looked that way to me. But I mean, the team tactics. I mean, technically they're illegal, aren't they? I mean, technically, every horse should be running on its merits to achieve the best possible placing. But everybody turns a blind eye to the team tactics. But they do go on. I think they'll be a part of racing for a long, long time. And again, there's been a lot of post-race stuff about the O'Brien horses, and not just in that race yesterday, but running these top-class horses from a year ago as
Mm.
sort of pacemakers, if you like, or tactical runners a year later. And yes, they'll still have stallion careers ahead of them, but it does seem odd that you can be a Derby winner one year and a pacemaker in the King George at Ascot the next. It does seem just a little bit strange to me, but that's the way they run their horses, and as long as they stay two steps ahead of the sheriff, then they're absolutely fine.
Well, we're going to look at the last two days of York, Friday and Saturday, as if it's not hard enough there. The rain's come over the last 24 hours. Looking at the forecast, though, Jim, there's only about an hour's worth of rain forecast for tomorrow. So
Yeah.
you would imagine today on Thursday will probably be the worst that the ground is going to be. It might dry out a little bit by the time the Ebor's on Saturday, but you'll have had a look at the card on Friday, Jim. What do you fancy at York?
I did fancy Carner's, Robert, but I've just heard that's a non-runner. That's a non-runner in the Lonsdale Cup on Friday. So I'm not going to tip up in that race at all now, since I was quite convinced that Carner's rather had kind of flown under the radar. So I'll leave that race alone. The horse I've napped in the Scottish Sun on Friday is a horse called Arapaho Gold. It runs for Michael Dodds, who, of course, not too long ago, he saddled Mecca's Angel to win the Nunthorpe Stakes, another big race on Friday, 2 years in a row under Paul Mulrennan. Paul rides American Affair. We'll come to that in a second. But Michael Dodds has got a very good 2-year-old this year called Arapaho Gold. I managed to latch onto it fairly early when it won its race at Thirsk. Then went to Beverley, was withdrawn at the start after being back down 20 to 1 into 11 to 4. They then went back to Thirsk and won a routine novice. Absolutely no problem. The form of both those races had been working out. Went to Newbury, a furlong out from the stalls, bumped very, very badly. Would have stopped most horses, but Connor Beasley gathered this horse up and pushed it forward and went to win quite a nice race at Newbury. That form has worked out extremely well, with the runner-up winning next time out at Newmarket and the third horse going to Deauville and finishing second in a Group 3. So that form at Newbury has worked out very well. But I think, again, it's more about visuals. Arapaho Gold, lovely big 2-year-old, seems to enjoy striding forward. Looks as if there's plenty more to come. And I think the second favourite in this race is a horse called A Day of Scarlet, trained by Hugo Palmer. And I wouldn't say that's any kind of superstar at all, whereas I think that Arapaho Gold this time next year may well be going for something like the Nunthorpe or being prepared for something over 6 furlongs later on. So Arapaho Gold is the one for me. The prices have all gone. I managed to nab 8-1 a few weeks ago. Had another nibble at 4s. It's now 11-4. I don't know if it'll drift because of the rain, but it doesn't worry me. I think he'll handle any ground, and Arapaho Gold is the tip in the Jim Crack.
The 3 o'clock race, that is, Jim. And then
Yep.
afterwards, what have you got? What have you got in the rest of the York card?
Yeah, I think we've both been keen all season on American Affair. We managed to get onto it at Goodwood last time. Astonishing price, 12-1, given what Paul Mulrennan had said on the record that he thought its previous race had been its best yet, and he was convinced it was now back to its best. So we're not going to get 12-1, but it's still a decent price. I think 13-2 sevens might even get better because although he goes on the soft, maybe better on faster ground, we shall see. But it's not going to put me off because I think the horse is back to his best. He has to give a lot of weight to that 2-year-old down the bottom for Richard Hannon, the Pershada horse, which will be the mount of the top lightweight, Sylvester de Souza. And he also he has to give a couple of pounds, not much, because at this time of year, the weight for age isn't too much over sprint trips. He only has to give a couple of pounds to Bacchio, the American horse. Is soft ground going to suit that horse? I would have thought not, but you never know. But no, I'm sticking with American Affair. I think he'll even be an each way price on Friday. But I do think he's going to win again. So American Affair for me in the Nunthorpe, that's at 3:35.
And then we'll move up to Hamilton. Friday night card at Hamilton with the Silver Bell over 1 mile and 4 at 6:15 is the centrepiece of the card. We've got Willie Haggis brings up Yaba,
Yeah.
which it's got really good handicap form, beating Wine Dark Sea, Al Ali, Daiquiri Bay on the way up to 104 now, but it's been really poor the last twice. They throw the tongue tie on it now. I mean, Haggis has won it twice in the last 5 years, so it does need respected, but just looks a horse that's become a wee bit difficult in the last couple of races. I thought very interesting to see a valuation back off a break of 300 odd days. Moved Lucinda Russell to Adam Nicol. So he's now in his 5th trainer, this horse. Back to the same mark of 88 when he was second in the Northumberland Plate a few years ago. Interesting to bring him here for his stable debut, but at 8-year-old you would think evaluation's chance for a race like this is gone. Ollie Ricks, Jim, I had a look at him. He's never had a runner at Hamilton before.
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. He brings Noble Horizon up £3 for a narrow defeat by Al Ali at Goodwood over 1 mile and 2. And then you've got Ivanesco for the Charlie Johnson yard.
Yeah.
It's going to be the pace angle in the race. I can just see from 1 and 2, Noble Horizon and Ivanesco going forward here. That was only beat a length by Chiara Abu at Goodwood. Kept on the same mark at 99. Likely to go out in front, but is going to have Noble Horizon forcing the pace.
Yeah.
You fancy Alterek, Jim? What do you think they'll do with that one? Because they held that one up and then they went forward the last time.
Yeah, and to win its race, to get into the John Smiths at York, they went forward and won no problem, but I think he's definitely better coming from behind. And I think with that draw tomorrow night, he's drawing on the outside tomorrow night, Friday night rather. I think that they'll hold it up this time. I think it's hugely significant that Let's Be Frank, which we tipped up last week to win at Pontefract, it goes under a penalty, but Lauren Young switches off Let's Be Frank to ride Alterek. So I would think that Alterek is the main one for the Jim Goldie team. Not that you would ever rule out Let's Be Frank, especially the way it won last week under that terrific ride from Lauren. But no, I think Alterek, it's been threatening to win a good race. I think he's perfectly well handicapped. And I think if he's going to win a good race, it's probably this race on what you would call home turf for him. That's the Jim Goldie horse, Alterek. I also like a horse of Iain Jardine's here called Tiernan, which has got a really, I mean, he's run a lot of races at Hamilton, so you would expect him to have decent form there, but he certainly handles the track. Ian's got him down from, I think what he was on 101, I think he's down to 85. So if he's not on a winning mark now, I don't know when he will be. So I would definitely watch out for that Tiernan. I have backed them both, I have to be honest, Alterek. I think I took 9-1, Tiernan I took 15-2. So they're probably both each way prospects, especially in such a good race. And at this point, I'm taking my hat off to Hamilton Park, because in the week of York's Ebor meeting, to run a 103 grand handicap over a mile and a half and attract a quality field with a top weight 102, definitely hats off to Hamilton Park for that. But you like Evanesco. I've
Yeah.
split stakes between Alterek and Tiernan, and I think hopefully all three should run well.
Yeah, I can just see Evanesco, just as long as that and one and Noble Horizon don't duff each other up front. But I just think the low draw, those two will go out in front. I think Evanesco might be hard to catch coming up the hill there.
And before this race became a very valuable handicap, when they just brought it back, when they found the trophy actually in a town hall somewhere, and they decided to bring this race back, and it was only worth 25 grand or so. And I think Mark Johnson plundered this race a few times. So Charlie will know what he's doing with that horse.
And then what else have you got in the Hamilton card, Jim?
Yeah, I thought the 5 furlong sprint after the Lanark Silver Bell was interesting. I think the obvious one is Eternal Sunshine with Lauren Young on board for Jim Goldie, but I just think Tatterstall, I mean, I know that you've liked this horse this season as well, Robert, and it goes with the first time cheek pieces on tomorrow night for Michael Dodge, so I'm hoping we'll have had a very good day at York, obviously. And I think Tatterstall with the first time cheek pieces reasonably well handicapped, goes at the track. I think that's probably worth a bet in the 7:15. And I was going to mention another one later on. Yeah, in the 8:15, this is quite an interesting one. Again, we've given Iain Jardine a mention, and I'm going to give him a big mention very shortly. But he runs a horse called Never Dark in the closing 5 furlong handicap. It's obviously a lower grade than that one after the Silver Bell. It's a course and distance winner. Ran in one of those hands and heels apprentice races last time here. And if the jockey had had a stick, I'm quite sure it would have won. That's as much as I can say. So Alex Jarry has been booked for this. He's a very good apprentice with Nigel Tinkler. He claims 3. Never Dark has run 2 good races the last twice. I think this is probably his winning turn, and send Iain Jardine off to York in a good mood.
The one I just wanted to mention, the 7:45 6 furlong handicap was City
Yep.
captain. Harriet Bethel has had 2 winners with 3 runners at the track in the last 5 years, so not someone she comes very often. And City captain back to 6 furlongs after fading over 7 the last time. Solid form at Pontefract, so getting up the hill at Hamilton shouldn't be a problem. I just like the fact that it's coming here after Pontefract. Or it's got good form at Pontefract coming here. I think that might be the angle on it. Harriet Bethel, her record
Yep.
at the track, definitely worth a second look. The only slight concern is he's run 3 times off 78 and not been able to win. So just wonder the handicapper might have him, but if he's ever going to win, it'll be up a course with an uphill finish. So,
Great shout.
and then we'll move on to Saturday, Jim. We'll kick off with the Ebor, 3:35, mile 6 handicap. Where have you come down on this one?
I've come down on this Paddy the Squire here. I have done for a few weeks now. The danger is it looks as if you're just supporting a Scottish horse. It's not like that at all, I can assure you. I think Paddy the Squire won that Lanark Silver Bell last year. Iain Jardine said straight afterwards it would be the Ebor next year. He stuck to his word. He's given the horse 3 races. It's run better each time. The middle one, I think, was at Royal Ascot when it was second or third to Daiquiri Bay. Third, rather, to Daiquiri Bay, which reopposes, obviously, on Saturday. But I just think Ian's brought this horse along nice and steadily. If you look at his Racing Post ratings for last season, every single race, he improved his Racing Post rating. And this year, all 3 races, he's improved his Racing Post rating. Ian wasn't bothered about getting a little bit of a hike for that run at Ascot. I still think he's nicely handicapped. Andrew Mullen will be in the saddle. He knows the horse very, very well. He's not sneaked in at the bottom or anything. He's in there on merit. I think that he's a really solid horse with a little bit of progress to come. I think any horse in this handicap will need that. I think he'll have got that. And don't forget, Robert, that Iain Jardine has won this race before. He won the Ebor back in 2017 with Nakeeta. The night before that race, he'd actually won the Lanark Silver Bell as well with a horse called Seapal. So the guy has got form, and when it comes to the Ebor, he knows how to lay a horse out. He's been talking about this horse openly all season. That has been his Ebor horse. And at 25-1, I think we can afford to find out each way if it's good enough. And of course, you'll get extended places down the field as well with the various bookmakers on Saturday. So I've gone for Paddy the Squire. I know you fancy one or two others.
Well, the question is though, Jim, are you going to double them up in case lightning strikes twice?
Well, you never know. You never know. I might just have a look at those prices Friday, Saturday.
Again, anybody who watches this knows my record. Betting at York, I find the place absolutely impossible. I do think class leader, the winner of the Jorvik over a mile and four in May. Only bad run this horse has had was on fast ground at the Old Newton Cup. Been going the right way consistently until then. I think the slower ground should help it. Does stay a mile and six. It was a narrow second to sing us a song at Haydock. And the other one, I think we might just looking elsewhere, might just be overcomplicating this. Willie Mullins with Love Me Tender
Yeah,
right at the very bottom. And it's not the Love Me Tender that's owned by JP McManus that runs over hurdles. This is a different Love Me Tender that's had 3 runs in France, joined Willie Mullins in November last year, hasn't been seen, and makes its stable debut and handicap debut with William Buick here off bottom weight. This is a German bred horse. It was fourth in a listed race in France. The winner that day was only beat 1 1/4 lengths in the Prix de Jockey Club. So I just wonder if
yeah.
looking elsewhere might just be overcomplicating it. That Love Me Tender's just flashing out at me right at the bottom of the handicap, Jim.
And I can see why, yeah, because obviously I think most people have been looking at Mr. Hollywood, but Love Me Tender's got in there right at the very bottom, and I would expect money for that, Robert. I hope you've got a decent price already.
Well, she's won it twice in the last 3 years as well, Mullins,
Correct.
hasn't he?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
just when it's
So
little declarations, I just thought that thing sticks out like a sore thumb. But if
yeah,
I back it, Jim, it won't win because it's York.
I'm sure you'll break your duck.
Oh, I did back Magical Zoe. I did back
Oh, well
Magical.
done, well done. Yeah, I
Only
do
because
remember
I'm friends with the owners.
that.
The 225, Jim, the Melrose, the mile and six handicap. What have you got anything in here?
Not any longer again, like Karmer's. I fancied a horse that's now an on runner. I fancied Be Patient for the Ed Bethel yard, but he's taken that one out. So I'm going to leave this one to you. I think you fancy the Haggas one.
Well, I just think in this race you're probably looking at someone that'll be running in Group Threes and listed races next season. I thought Infrad was probably the one for Willie Haggis or William Haggis. Don't know hear you call him Willie.
No, I know.
William Haggis, the Goodwood winner, beaten Hatteen, really toughed it out at Goodwood. I mean, I just think he looks the one that's probably most likely to be running at a proper level next year. The other one, I suppose, is Limestone for Joseph O'Brien. You can't dismiss any of his horses at any time, but especially at the
No.
moment because they're flying. I mean, Vantage Code, Jim, I mean, that's up a huge stack of weight for a big distance win at Galway for the Mees.
Yeah.
That one's quite interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. Emmett Mullins, you can't rule him out in big handicaps either. And yeah, it's very, very competitive. As I say, once Be Patient came out, I kind of lost interest. So it's one for me that I'll have another look on Saturday, Robert.
And then the City of York Stakes, Jim, 3 o'clock, the Group 1 over 7 furlongs. Where have you come down on that?
Very, very keen on Zavateri. Eve Johnson Houghton said it had to come back somewhere, so she chose that Group 1 race of Sussex at Glorious Goodwood. Ran a perfectly good race to my eyes, fifth to Bow Echo. Now drops back to 7 furlongs. I think this is this horse's best trip. Charlie Bishop in the saddle. We're allowed to call him Charlie, not Charles. But Zavateri is definitely my selection in this. I know it's a very competitive Group 1. There's no question about that, but I'll be looking to try and get the best odds on Zavateri for Eve Johnson Houghton. I think that horse is about to blast back into everybody's consciousness.
And then down at Newmarket, we've got the final day in the July course. Just one, the 209, a 6 furlong handicap. Sea Cookie, absolute lunatic at Leicester 2 weeks ago in a four-runner race. Something happened in the stalls. It kind of came out the stalls sideways and was all lit up. Ran like a complete maniac. Got to the front and then just ran at a puff. Ended up finishing second. It was up at 86. It's back down to 83 now. It's a course and distance winner on the July course. I just think that Sea Cookie in a 6 furlong handicap, if it behaves itself, they put the tongue tie on it as well. If it
Yeah.
behaves itself, I think it might be a level above the rest of these.
Well, I hope it behaves itself because I backed one the other day, one of Linda Perrett's at Wolverhampton. As you know, as everybody watching this knows, Linda Perrott could saddle the stable Goat at the moment and it would win. This one went to Wolverhampton under Oisin Murphy, the reigning champion jockey, backed in from 7-2 to 15-8. Stalls open, Hamlet Cigar. So it can happen, it does happen. We just have to hope that they behave on the day. That one didn't.
Right, Jim, thank you very much. Best of luck with your bets this weekend, folks.
Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the Ebor weekend and give us a like on YouTube. Thanks.